Hi, you are looking at the manual system, which I sent you a copy of last night. So I hope you had a chance to look at it. This is just a partial solution of the manual system, and you'll need to complete that by tomorrow night at midnight. So if we could just maybe go through this. This is what we're looking at is a chart of accounts. Beneath that, we have the inventory file, which shows us the code of the inventory, description, reorder point, and unit cost. Beyond that, we've got the price list of our studio time and inventory. Now note that this is a merchandiser, sells inventory, but also is a service entity and it sells studio time to our customers. Below the price list is our approved vendors. Alright, so for this is a manual system, and basically the requirements are to process the transactions, update the subsidiary ledgers, update the general ledger, and then create a trial balance, adjusting entries, adjusted trial balance, income statement, and balance sheet, and post-closing trial balance. Income statement, balance sheet, trial balance, adjusted trial balance, adjusting entries, all of those will be on the worksheet, so you don't have to prepare those in a separate paper. You will have to do the adjusting entries in the general journal as well as on the worksheet. All right, so let's look at requirement 1. Elvis contributed $25,000 in cash. He also pledged his personal residence for another $50,000. And these are deposited in the cash account, and the requirements are to record this information in the cash receipts journal. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the cash receipts journal. So that's one thing about this manual system, it has a lot of pages. And the date was on the 3rd, so I debit cash, notice I debit cash, and I credit contributed capital, which is account number 3100 for $25,000. And then the second entry, I debit cash for $50,000, and I'll credit account number 2210, which is notes payable for $50,000. Okay, let's take a look at the next requirement. And the next requirement is to prepare some bills, and these bills prepare the recording of the bills, and these bills of course will be recorded in what's called the voucher register. Alright, and then once we post our bills in the voucher register, we'll also have to update the accounts payable subsidiary account. So let's take a look at the first one. We have rent for $2,000. That needs to be recorded in the voucher register. Now, the voucher register is just a place where we record our bills, right? We get some bills, we need to keep them organized, we need to know when they're going to be paid and so on. We need a record of these bills, and that's where we keep them, in the voucher register. So let's take a look at the voucher register. I'm going too fast. So here it is, and I have quite a few entries in here for you. And there's the first one. Now the processing date of the transaction was the 9th. Seattle Property Management was the vendor. The invoice date was the 1st. On receipt, meaning that the terms are on receipt, meaning that as soon as we receive the bill, we're supposed to cut a check. The amount was $2,000, so I'm going to debit prepaid rent, which it tells us in the requirement, debit prepaid rent, which is account number 1140. And we'll credit accounts payable for $2,000. Okay, now beyond that, I need to, beyond recording this in the voucher register, I also need to record this $2,000 in the accounts payable subsidiary ledger for Seattle Property Management. So let's take a look at that. I go to the subsidiary ledger. Now we have a subsidiary ledger whenever we have a control account, and of course, in this situation, the control account is accounts payable. So anything in the subsidiary ledger should equal the amount in the accounts payable account. In other words, if I just had one bill, Seattle Property Management recorded at $2,000, $2,000 would also be the amount in my accounts payable account on my balance sheet. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and record that as a credit here for $2,000, and balance is $2,000. I just record the item as rent and the date was the date of the invoice of 1/1. All right, going back to the requirements, and telling me the next requirement is to go ahead and record for Northwest Office purchase of a computer system for $5,100. So I go back to the voucher register, and let's take a look at that. And the voucher register. All right, the date was processing date was 1/9. The vendor is Northwest Office. Invoice date is the 5th. Terms are net 30. Notice here post reference 101. When I update it to the accounts payable subsidiary ledger, I recorded this 101 here, and I'll record this 102, or I recorded the 102 once I update it to the subsidiary ledger for Northwest Office for $5,100. And then I'm crediting 1210, which is office equipment. Is account number 1210, and I'm going to debit that for $5,100, and of course credit accounts payable. Now notice every transaction here is credited to accounts payable. I have a second entry with Northwest Office where I purchased some office supplies, so I debit office supplies expense for $245. It's right here, and credit accounts payable for $245. So those two amounts will have to be updated to the accounts payable subsidiary ledger. And so here it is, so $5,100 in the voucher register page 1 for $5,100, and then voucher register page 1 for $245. So a total of $53.45 is now owed to Northwest Office. So I'll continue on, and I'll do these bills all in the same fashion, where they're going to be in the voucher register. They'll be debited to some sort of expense or asset account and credited to accounts payable for all of these. I've recorded all of these for you in the voucher register, and I've updated them to the subsidiary ledger. All right, once I have these recorded, I'm going to have to pay some bills, and it says pay any bill that are due before the 21st. So I take a look at this, and certainly the Seattle property management bill is due before January 21st. It was actually due the 1st because it was due on receipt when we received the bill. Northwest Office is due February 5th, so we don't have to worry about that one. And the other Northwest Office is due February 7th. Sound Wholesale, though, we received a bill from them the 7th, and they want their payment in 10 days. So that's due January 17th. So I need to write a check for them, and I need to write a check for Ready Copy because that's due on January 18th, which is before the 21st. So I go ahead to my check register, and I process my 3 checks. $2,000 to Seattle Property Management, write the date, check number, payee, post reference 101. I'll need to record this in the accounts payable subsidiary ledger. And I debit accounts payable for $2,000 and credit cash for $2,000. For Sound Wholesale, it was a $20,000 bill. I debit accounts payable for $20,000 and credit cash for $20,000. And for Ready Copy, a $464 bill. I debit accounts payable for $464 and credit cash for $464. Those amounts will need to be debited in the accounts payable subsidiary ledger. Since we're reducing the liability, we reduce the amount owed in the subsidiary ledger. So Seattle Property Management paid them off on the 12th, so there's a debit of $2,000. The other one we paid was Sound Wholesale for $20,000. So that's here. And then we also paid Ready Copy for $464. All right. Note, by the way, there's a mistake here in purchasing inventory. These should be credited. $1,755 should be credited here. All right, so that's kind of how this works, and then you'll have some more vendor invoices. You'll have some cash sales, and these will go in your cash receipts journal. And then you're going to have some credit sales, and those will be recorded in your sales journal. And then you have some collections on account, and those will also be in the cash receipts journal. Okay, so After you have gotten your transactions processed, you'll need to total all of your amounts in your journals, as well as pick up those individual amounts that were in the miscellaneous column. So what I mean by that is we've got 2 here in the miscellaneous accounts. They have to be picked up. This cash account will be totaled, and that will be posted to your general ledger as a cash debit. So we'll post, let's say that the general ledger for the cash receipts account had 75,000. I would debit that here in the cash account for 75,000. Post reference would be cash receipts journal, page 1, debit of 75,000. And then if the cash check register had 50,000 of payments, I would record that as a credit and adjust my balance. So we don't post to the general ledger until we have completed processing all of the transactions. Then we'll go ahead and post to the general ledger. Once you posted to the general ledger, then those accounts can be, these amounts from these accounts can be recorded or can be copied to the unadjusted trial balance. So I sent you a spreadsheet, and you will record those amounts from each of these accounts. Let's say account receivable had 5,000 in it, and inventory had 800. Those amounts would appear on the unadjusted trial balance. Once you finish your unadjusted trial balance, you'll record your adjusting entries in your general journal. That's what that's for. So your adjusting entries will be recorded in your general journal. Once you have your adjusting entries, and I think there's only 3 or 4 of them for depreciation, a couple others, you'll add those amounts on your worksheet to the unadjusted trial balance. And then you'll have your adjusted trial balance. And then the amounts on the adjusted trial balance we can take off and put on the balance sheet and income statement. All right, so that's how that works. I will be in my office all day Monday from say 9:30 to 5. So if you have any questions on this, please come in and see me. I did have a couple of workshops on Friday. We had some students from the online class came up and I helped them. So I'd be glad to help anybody. So it's not a hard project. It is tedious. It's probably going to take a couple hours, 3-4 hours maybe. So I would suggest if you haven't started it yet or you're having difficulties, come see me. And I'm always happy to help anybody. Thank you for your time.